We don't know how a tornado forms. We see the hook on the radar, but
What are all the invisible factors coming together? Every little detail.
it has to be perfect. And it's a mix of what we know and everything we can't understand. It's part science, part religion.
Welcome to Now Playing Podcast's Twister Retrospective Series.
Today we're gonna make history, so stick around.
Hosted by Jakob.
Oh, manly handshake ensues.
Stuart.
Why don't you explain why you are the way you are?
And Arnie.
Our crew is not like your crew. We don't need PhDs and fancy tech.
But be warned, this episode will contain detailed plot spoilers and strong language.
Tighten your seatbelt.
We hope you enjoy the show.
Let's ride.
Today, we're discussing Twister, starring Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton, Jamie Gertz, and Cary Elwes, directed by Jan de Bont. This is the Now Playing co-host who lives in the suck zone, Arnie.
And Stuart.
And this is the co-host married for just his penis, Jakob.
So welcome to a new retrospective series bouncing off of our speed reviews as we gear up to Twisters, a legacy sequel to this 1996 CGI fest. Did you guys see this when it was new?
You're talking the kickoff to summer 1996? I am in my graduating year of film school? Hell no. Hell no.
I have never seen this film. I'm a newbie here. I knew about it, but yeah, I was kind of like a movie about tornadoes. No thanks. I'm a coastal elitist. We just deal with earthquakes here. We don't have no tornadoes. That can't be scary, right? Like, I watched Wizard of Oz all the time. That tornado didn't scare me, but no, it seems silly, like dueling tornado researchers. No thanks. So I've never seen this one, but I know quite a bit about it.
I had the same reaction as you did, Jacob, when it came out. I knew it was from the director of Speed, and I knew I liked Speed, but I really had no interest in people running from CGI tornadoes. And so I had no interest in this film whatsoever. The trailers did nothing to move me. Not a fan of disaster films in general, so I didn't want to see this. But then word of mouth was really good about this. I kept hearing things. So finally, keep in mind, this is back when movies were in theaters for more than 3 weeks. I probably, in its second or third month of release, I went and saw Twister in theaters and enjoyed it back then. I was looking forward to revisiting it, though, because it's not one I've watched a lot.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has gone back. It's one of those that I would say hit in the moment because CGI was so new, because we were only 5 years out from T2, a couple years out beyond seeing dinosaurs at Jurassic Park. So if Michael Crichton says we're now going to get up close and personal with a tornado, then yes, we want to see that. But I don't remember anybody saying anything good about this movie being like a good movie. And when I watched it, I remember thinking it was pretty crummy. I forgot about it and didn't think about it again.
Yeah, I actually got a chance to see this in theaters again just a few days before we recorded this show. Dallas Fan Expo happened here in Texas, and they had a theatrical screening of Twister preceded by a live Helen Hunt Q&A. And so I got to hear Helen Hunt talk about this movie. One of the actual trucks from this movie was parked out front, and you could sit in the truck and get your picture taken in the Twister truck.
Do they have like an arts and crafts section where you got to cut out Pepsi tins to attach to the sensors?
No, I think that probably wouldn't have been safe to do, because did you see how cut up their hands were in the movie? Imagine in real life. But I got to see this in 4K. It was the first time the 4K transfer of Twister had ever been seen. It's coming out on 4K disc in a couple weeks after we record this. But I got to see this in all of the 4Ks on a giant screen. They put it up on a big D-Box screen, although I didn't have the D-Box seat experience for this one.
That'd be great. Your seat starts to spin in circles.
Oh, that would be awesome. But yeah, I've gotten to see this twice more for this review then. I watched it once so I could take notes at home too. And it was fun to go back and look back at 1996 and where it was. But Stuart, you say Michael Crichton says we're going to be doing a movie about tornadoes. That's not exactly how this one came about. This one was an idea pitched at Amblin, and they were like, can we even make a movie about tornadoes? So instead of hiring a screenwriter, they hired effects guys. Do some tests, see if you can make a realistic tornado. If you can make a realistic tornado, then we're going to make a movie. And Spielberg was attached to direct. And ILM did a fantastic tornado demo. And then they're like, okay, we're going to make a tornado movie. We need somebody to write it. Let's get Michael Crichton and his wife.
Because of Jurassic Park? Like people knew that name?
Sure. I mean, Michael Crichton is the geek you call. At this time particularly, it should be said, just a reminder. Remember when we covered that 70s Andromeda strain? Michael Crichton. And then he had 2 years of floundering and putting out books that no one liked. And then he had Jurassic Park, and everyone was like, let's make those bad books into big special effects movies. And we were getting shit like Congo and Sphere and all of that.
I hope we get to talk about both of those movies someday. I actually just rewatched Congo the other day.
Yeah, movies I stayed away from.
But Crichton did have a relationship with Spielberg, not only Jurassic Park, but he actually was behind ER. You know, he is a medical doctor, and that show is produced by Spielberg. It's a Michael Crichton show. I remember even laughing. They tried to sell it as, it's a gurney rushing out of control when they had radio ads for it. They really tried to sell it like it was another thrill ride. And Michael Crichton, I mean, don't tell me Universal didn't make this movie, not thinking so much about the box office, but the theme park. Yes, you want to sit in a chair that spins around. You want to experience a tornado without getting hurt. And that's what this movie promised. That's what the joy of coming to it would be.
Yeah, if they would open a theme park attraction just 2 years after this movie came out. But I don't know that that was Spielberg's big impetus for wanting to do this. But yeah, Spielberg didn't do it. They went through a number of other directors. The usual suspects, you know, everybody you call if Spielberg says no. James Cameron, Tim Burton, Robert Zemeckis, the usuals.
Tim Burton would have been a very sad, depressed tornado.
Jan de Bont was supposed to be making Godzilla. He left due to those ubiquitous creative differences and ended up doing Twister instead.
And it was a bright spot. Keep in mind, he made this in between the two speeds. This was a very big hit for him. Now, this wasn't just like a, oh, people liked it kind of thing. 250 in the US, 250 more internationally. $500 million this film made. It stayed number one at the box office until Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible, the first movie, came out. So it had legs. But I ask, did it have legs because we hadn't been able to see spectacle like that? It was in time of CGI disaster films. Same summer as Independence Day, and soon we would be getting volcanoes, Dante's Peak, and all of that kind of stuff. Titanic, obviously.
2 meteor films.
Yeah. Would be a fun retrospective to cover. We looked at doing it as such, but yes, when this movie appeared on the calendar that there was a sequel, it just seemed logical that we would revisit what does it look like 28 years later.
They couldn't just wait for the 30th anniversary, huh?
There really will be no more theaters in 2 years, so yeah, get it out now.
Mm-hmm. Well, Arnie, get it out now. Tell us what happens in Twister.
Bill Paxton plays Bill, a former storm chaser who has settled down and taken a job as a TV weatherman. The job isn't all that's new in Bill's life. He's also engaged to marry reproductive therapist Melissa, played by Jamie Gertz. The only problem is that Bill's estranged wife Jo, played by Helen Hunt, refuses to sign the divorce papers to end his current marriage. Jo leads a team of storm chasers who hope that their new sensor system, Dorothy, will provide enough data to help predict future tornadoes and save lives. Dorothy was the brainchild of both Bill and Jo. Bill takes Melissa to find Jo to get her to sign the papers, but while there, Bill gets excited at the prospect of Dorothy finally launching. Bill is also egged on by a competing storm chaser, Jonas, played by Cary Elwes, who stole the Dorothy design for his own sensor system. Bill agrees to help Jo chase tornadoes during a particularly active weather system. The two reunite and go after several twisters, but each time something happens to cause Dorothy to not launch, and Bill and Jo barely escape with their lives. During this time, Jo and Bill reconnect and fall back in love. This is witnessed by Melissa, who breaks up with Bill. Finally, at the climax of the film, an F5 tornado spawns. Jo and Bill drive Bill's truck right into the storm, causing Dorothy to finally launch and send back the first ever data recorded from inside a tornado. Their mission successful, Joe and Bill kiss as credits roll.
And as we get started, I will just say that this movie, I think it was a common trope. Villains that were easy to kick around. Lawyers were obviously the easiest target. But nobody likes a therapist in a movie. And they're going to make a lot of fun of Jamie Gertz in this movie. But I remember making fun of this movie for its Freudian implications that get started here. That we are going to understand that Jo, throughout her life, has this Electra complex because Daddy was taken away from her by the big phallic twister.
I didn't read the phallus into it.
Oh, you should.
Okay.
We're definitely going to do that. Yes.
I mean, that takes on a whole new meaning when we get to a double twister. Yeah.
Yes. No, this is about couples having sex.
I never saw the movie about that. I saw it as a disaster movie about weather.
All right. Well, then we saw very different films.
I just thought this was like a rote opening that you give your hero character to show their trauma that they're trying to overcome through their journey. But yes, it's because her father died, and I guess that big twirly penis took him away.
Yes, we're in 1969 in Oklahoma. This movie all takes place in Oklahoma, and we see little Jo as a young girl with her mother, her father, and her dog, Toby, who is a Karen Terrier, just like Toto in Wizard of Oz.
I didn't miss it. Yes. This movie is pretty obvious with many of its film references. And again, this is not one of Jan de Bont's strengths. I think that we all found out, yes, people like that he had a contained action movie, kept it all in a bus. What a great act. But as his career imploded, I think what we found out was that he had a very big difficulty in trying to personify disaster. And I don't remember any of us liking his take on a haunted house movie, The Haunting, where the house is literally going to get a grin on it and growl and do all of this. He's going to try to say that tornadoes are chasing Helen Hunt throughout her entire life, are like growling and like singling her out. Again, that this is some kind of missing daddy complex for her. This is outrageous, right? Can we just admit this movie is high camp?
Look, I took that as more in jest when she says these tornadoes are chasing her, but I did think of, what is it, Jaws the Revenge, where that shark, he just got to find all those family members.
That's totally what this is.
Yeah, look, I do think I said I didn't see this film because it seemed silly, like we're going to chase tornadoes. Why? Okay, you're going to get some data. What's the point? What's the movie? What's the drama? What's the conflict?
Yeah, this movie overall, anytime it has its drama, anytime it has a lot of dialogue scenes, the more intense the dialogue, the funnier it is. This movie is unintentional camp beginning to end. And I can't believe we have Michael Crichton and his wife who wrote this. They brought in Joss Whedon, who did a rewrite on Speed. Joss Whedon rewrote much of the dialogue for this. And still, the movie we get is just full of tropes and unintentional laugh lines that are highly enjoyable.
Again, that was my memory. That was the first viewing, 1997 on video, was like, God damn, this thing is silly. And it was kind of shocking to think that, I don't know, did people ever take it seriously? I mean, they gave it a lot of money, but were people laughing the whole time? I would have loved to have gone to the movie theater and found out if people were actually laughing at it, with it, or riveted, like it's a thriller.
The screening I went to just this past weekend had people cheering. Nobody was laughing at it.
Yeah, but that's a specialized crowd.
Yeah, there was one line, which I'll bring up, where the entire crowd did chuckle, and I was glad that they found it as funny as I did. But by and large, they were into the movie. And again, I remember summer of 1996, people at my job were talking about this movie. My friends were talking about this movie. None of them were saying it was hilarious. They were all saying, you really have to see it. It's spectacular action.
Which, just to reflect, was also my experience with the first Speed, where people told me it's this great film, and then I see it, and it was kind of a campy hoot. Again, I recommend for that movie, but I don't treat it seriously. And this feels even beyond.
Doubles down on not treating it seriously.
Yeah.
I agree, yes. And more shocking, because you wouldn't necessarily, unless you read Congo or Sphere, expect Michael Crichton to shit the bed like this.
And I remember my viewing of this in 96 not very clearly, but I remember I took it seriously. I remember that I wasn't laughing at the movie in the theaters when I was that age.
Okay, we didn't see this movie together. That's all I know. Michael Crichton, I don't think he has a movie where he doesn't have techies sitting around a room with lots of TV screens, right? When we jump to the present, he's got, for reasons, the science. You know, he can't get away from that. If you ever read Jurassic Park, so many pages and pages about chaos theory, you realize that he's not there for the thrills. I wonder, does he really think that he's explaining anything about tornadoes to us when we get these weather reports?
Yeah, there is too much science in this because, first of all, it starts off like, we don't know anything about tornadoes. That's why we got to get these balls in them. And then they'll just throw out jargon lines after jargon lines. I'm like, I'm not writing that down. I don't know what it means, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, anytime we're at the NSSL, the National Severe Storm Laboratory, they are saying things that don't make a whole lot of sense to me. Later on, they're going to talk about two storms converging. I don't think anybody's in touch with the NSSL. They're not talking with anybody who's feet on the ground in this movie, anyone whose name we know. So why we keep cutting to this laboratory, it seems to add a level of believability maybe, but you could have cut every scene of this lab out. And in fact, when we start this in the present day by looking at their weather satellite, that is the worst CGI in the entire movie, is this fake satellite. I couldn't believe that made it to screens in this movie. It looks like Event Horizon level effects.
But maybe that's a revelation for people, that we can actually look from space and know weather patterns that are happening across the United States. I don't know what I didn't know about weather in 1996.
I mean, they were predicting weather when I was a child, so this is not new.
Right, but I don't know that space satellites were a thing until the 80s. Maybe. I don't know. Hard to say. I have no form of reference for this. But this movie is not about tornadoes. This movie is not about any of that. It is a relationship drama written not just by Michael Crichton, but as you point out, Michael Crichton and the wife that would divorce him eventually.
So maybe they brought some of their own strife into this movie because we have an estranged married couple here. But yes, we're introduced to first Bill Paxton as he's driving with his new fiancée, Melissa, and talking about how he is needing his wife to sign the divorce papers finally.
And Stuart, you already called out, yes, they're going to make therapist jokes throughout because of this fiancé, which I'm like, oh, this is the 90s. Of course, therapy is a joke. Now we all need therapy just 30 years later. But is reproductive therapist, is that a thing? I don't understand what she's even doing when she's talking to people on the phone, like talking them down from going into labor. I don't know.
I think, yes, her client base is particularly women that are pregnant or having issues while in their 9 months of pregnancy is what I take that to mean. Or maybe couples trying to have babies and can't.
Yeah, the calls she has are about sperm count and things. So like helping people to get pregnant.
Right. And I think, again, metaphorically, this is very important because this man is torn between a woman who is going to be kind of earth mother, natural, like coming from a very clinical stance in all of this. And he just hasn't shaken the idea that there's this tomboy that gets him and has her own daddy complex that he fulfills. And yes, while he is coming to Helen Hunt to ask for a divorce, we all know that this is about them coming together, that they will be twisted back into a dysfunctional marriage by the end of this.
Yeah, our leading lady, Helen Hunt, someone I don't associate with action films. Usually I think if she's in a movie, I think of Mad About You, television, typically with her. But if it's a movie, it's usually like a rom-com or a drama.
I loved Mad About You when this was on. She was a draw for me to see this in theaters. And the reason she was cast, the studio didn't want her, but Jan de Bont did. He wanted not A-list stars. He wanted people that we would believe as the weather characters and not just see stars.
That's got to boost your ego. We don't want A-list. You're perfect. You're hired.
They talked about Tom Hanks to play the Bill role. Tom Hanks was like, that's not where I want my career to go. How about Bill Paxton? And so they just got a whole bunch of character actors and people to play these parts.
Yeah, let me reframe this. This is a really expensive movie. They have paid special effects artists a lot of money to try and figure out how to do these tornadoes. Those are the stars. Michael Crichton is the star. Keep in mind, nobody cared about Sam Neill or Laura Dern, whoever they were starring in Jurassic Park. This is the same idea. We'll just take a wannabe Laura Dern and a wannabe Sam Neill, who have been in movies that people will recognize but haven't seen be leads before. And yes, maybe their history at being funny characters will translate into a funny repartee.
And you see that with this crowd of Helen Hunt's character, all these other, I guess, storm chasers, researchers. There's only two that really stick out to me, Alan Ruck, because it's Alan Ruck, and Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's fun to, like, this is before anyone knew who Philip Seymour Hoffman was, I think. And the rest of the characters, they're loud and boisterous and fun, but I know those actors, so they stick out to me.
Joey Slotnick is another one who sticks out to me because he's an actor who I'd see in a whole bunch of stuff after this. And then there's one guy in the crew who gets like 2 lines, who would go on to be a major character, Faraday, in Lost. So I recognize the faces. These are a bunch of will become actors. Yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman playing like I've never seen him play a role before.
Never done a role like this before or after.
Let me ask about this cast. There are 7 people on this crew. And my assumption was, even coming back, thinking I remembered the movie, is body count, right? Some people aren't going to survive a tornado. All these MFs do. This is not about whittling them down. In Jurassic Park, we know Sam Jackson's going to lose a hand. We know that some people just don't make it, and that's what you would expect. Why have this 7 caravan crew tailing around the only 2 people that matter? Or 3, if you count the love triangle.
I have to guess that there's some of this being Michael Crichton saying we need these people. We would need a navigator. We would need someone to handle the Doppler, that it would actually be this type of crew. I agree with you. I would expect death. The fact that this movie is PG-13 is a shock to me. It feels very PG. I had to look it up. According to the MPAA, this is PG-13 due to, quote, intense depiction of very bad weather.
I mean, you can see that on the Weather Channel, but sure.
Oh my God, I can't handle this weather. Children, don't look. Avert your eyes. Yeah, I mean, yes, it is scary. Unlike you, Jacob, the Twister in Wizard of Oz is scary to little children. It was to me. I get that it would scare kids, but again, that's why you go to the movie. It's not a nature documentary. We want intensity. I don't think the 13 is warranted.
And I do want to say, I did spend some time living in Texas where I did experience tornadoes, and it was actually pretty terrifying. Where you had to, like, shelter at work, and, like, an earthquake, you don't know when it's coming. It just hits. You live, you die, who knows? But, like, a tornado, there's anticipation, and that was horrifying.
Yeah, I think the difference is when you talk about growing up in Wizard of Oz, Stuart and I were in Tornado Alley, whereas you were off in California. We didn't have to worry about earthquakes. But tornadoes were frightening, and I always took them seriously from childhood, although I didn't take them seriously enough. I kind of started ignoring tornado warnings, but it's a very real fear to have, especially this year. I mean, with all the tornadoes that have hit the country this year, it's like, is this the greatest year for Twisters to open or the worst year for Twisters to open?
More on that. I mean, you say that you don't have to worry about them in LA. Give it a couple years, right? They had some Twisters show up in New York City. I mean, like...
Yeah. We are doing a great job destroying the climate and changing it. Yeah, I get it.
Yes, right. As much as people might want to deny our influence on it, no doubt things are changing, right? That is definitely a thing that makes Twister still relevant 28 years later. You have even more reason to worry about big-ass cyclones.
But you talk about this crowd and no one dying. I guess my disappointment is it looks like they're having a lot of fun as they're just throwing all that banter around. Philip Seymour Hoffman talking about the suck zone to Melissa, the fiancée. Like, if you think disaster movie, and you said you thought of that with Speed, I didn't, Stuart, but this, I'm definitely thinking disaster film, and I want to get to know all these funny, goofy side characters, and this is not the film for that. It's all a blur. Like, once the action starts, no time for character development.
Yeah, let me ask, because I didn't do the deep research, Arnie, that it sounds like you did. Do you know what each individual character does? Philip Seymour Hoffman, as far as I can tell, plays pop songs. I don't know what he does on the crew.
And hits on Melissa, yeah.
Yeah, he's Eric Clapton and later some Deep Purple, Van Halen at the end. I don't know what his job is. To be funny, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure who these people are. I did listen to the commentary, hoping for some insight from Jan de Bont, but I should have known when it was Jan de Bont and the head of special effects that all they were going to talk about for 2 hours was computer graphics, and this was practical, this was computer. This was practical, this was computer. That's all I got out of it. So I don't know what these people do. I am going to say, though, they have a great vibe. They seem like they're having fun. They're fun to watch. They're familiar faces. And so it just feels amiable to be around this group. I like their energy that they bring.
I agree in the beginning. They seem like a fun crew for a disaster movie. I will just jump to my end thoughts and say, we don't need them all. Particularly Alan Ruck, who I think is just MapQuest. His job literally is just to dig through the maps and be like, okay, take that road.
Yeah, well, you need somebody to do that, right?
There's no GPS back then, or commercially available.
I guess you're right. Yeah, the satellites are just getting started. So yes, this is definitely a theme of this movie. Human intuition is a whole lot better than any kind of robot, unless it's named Dorothy. All technology is bad in this movie, just as it was in Jurassic Park. The science is threatening.
Yeah, I did notice that this is that classic trope that, even in Rocky 4, Drago, you use all those machines to get strong. Rocky just got to carry some logs in the snow, and that's better. This technology bad, human good.
Oh, technology's not the only villain, though. My favorite villain in this movie is the competitive storm chaser, Cary Elwes. And this is the line where everybody laughed, is when Bill Paxton looks at Cary Elwes and he's in it for the money, not the science.
Yeah, I'm glad to know that, because I definitely think that is a snicker line.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of storm chasers out there, and I don't think they're in it for the money. Most of them are in it for the thrills, but not the money. But yes, we've got Jonas, who has corporate sponsors for his storm chasing.
I gotta say, I laughed every time Jonas was on screen, because Cary, just do an English accent. He's trying to do some Southern thing or something, and it was so distracting. I'm like, Southern with an English twist to it, and it's bizarre.
Sometimes the English accent breaks through, but is Jamie Gertz's Southern accent any better? Her accent in this is atrocious.
It is pretty over the top, too.
I don't believe that this is a movie of strong performances. I hear amiable, I hear good vibe. Okay, I guess I'll go along with that. But in the end, not good characters, not good performances, and a whole lot of dead weight that don't even die. And that's my confusion, is why do you set up so many bowling pins and then have the ball go in the other direction?
So the question I have that is really important for the first 30 minutes of this movie is, do you care about Bill and Joe? Because it's going to take us 30 minutes to get to our first real twister scenario. And we've got this love triangle going on where Joe is still wearing her wedding ring. She's not signing the papers. You can tell she doesn't want to get divorced. And Bill has his new fiance who he brought with him for reasons. I don't know that that was the most diplomatic thing to do when you're going to see your ex-wife, is bring your new fiance.
She neuters him. I mean, again, you can see how this all works. Together, they're combustible like a tornado. Apart, this woman wants him to settle down, and she worries about children, and he's going to get a real job, which means applying all his love for tornadoes into being a local TV weatherman, I think.
Probably making more money.
I don't know. Local? We're not talking Al Roker money. We're talking about Channel 2, my suit's got a stain on it from lunch.
Keep in mind, they're in Oklahoma. That would be a small market.
For sure, yeah. I'm feeling like that is a trade down. It's certainly not as glamorous, and he seems to be pained by it all. He seems, come on, he's going to with her because, truthfully, that's where he wants to be. And I cannot tell you why they ever broke up. Is there something that happened? We know that they bicker like a screwball comedy couple, but I cannot see any true problem. I hear something about him not being loyal enough to her, but I don't think he stepped out on Helen Hunt for Jamie Gertz.
No, he says that he didn't, and that he didn't date in between them. It went straight from Joe to Melissa. I wrote it down on the second time I watched it for this review because they do talk about their marital problems while driving a truck and racing at 70 miles an hour. And Bill says, "You never had the slightest idea what being married means, like stability and supportiveness and a house and all kinds of things like that." That's the most insight we get into their relationship troubles, and it's meaningless. I have read that sentence probably 20 times, and I still don't know why they broke up.
Because Melissa represents that. I mean, she's the homemaker.
She's wearing a dress, not a tank top.
This woman is chasing her father. You know, her father was taken away, and here's a man that can command the tornadoes, that seems to know instinctively, can feed into that Freudian fantasy for her. They're made for each other. Yes, this is all kinds of dumb. And the question is, not do I like it, is am I laughing at it? And the answer is, yeah. I don't know if it's 30 minutes funny, but it's definitely campy.
Yeah, I agree. It is. I wasn't having the Freudian reading like you, Stuart. To me, it was just coming off very old-fashioned. Like, yeah, this love triangle. Like, we've seen this in a million movies. And that this was the plot of, like, what I assume, like, I was right. Like, it was a huge film, despite how silly it is. But, like, it was shocking to find out how corny and campy all of it was. But I'm having a good time. And a lot of it's because of this chaotic 7 people whose names and roles I do not know, just having a good time, and I'm kind of having a good time too and laughing with them.
Yeah, this characterization is so thin that it makes the characters in Speed look deep. I mean, there is nothing going on here with these people, and it is only the fact that we do have charismatic people on screen looking like they're having fun, bantering back and forth. Crichton said one of his inspirations for this film was His Girl Friday, and I feel like we've got some of that banter back and forth between Joe and Bill in this, and I'm enjoying it enough, but come on, we got to get to some tornadoes because much more of this, and I really would have been put off.
It's not His Girl Friday, just as this is not Kubrick and The Shining and all the things that Jan de Bont is going to insist in all of this. It's labored. The truth of the matter is, even though that they know that they should have more twisters in this, there's only going to be 4. We're told there's 4 Dorothys. They built the prototype of Bill Paxton's model, and he is so starstruck and I think flattered that his soon-to-be ex-wife is using his science that he can't help himself. He's going to give them this one day to test out all 4 machines, and they will have 4 tornado encounters. But that means in a 2-hour movie, a lot of character moments that don't feel like screwball comedy to me.
No, but it is going to rest upon the shoulders of Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt, and for the first hour of this movie, Jamie Gertz, as they're all in a truck together racing after tornadoes, to really make and sell these scenes. And again, they don't have great characters, but I think the actors are doing the best they can with what they're given.
I would frame it differently. I'm laughing at Bill Paxton hard when he picks up a handful of dirt and watches it blow away. And it's like, oh, it's going to go in that trifectory, vector, whatever, cone of silence, whatever jargon I'm supposed to say.
That dirt didn't even move. It just fell straight down.
Oh, my God. Stop it. Stop it with the mystical dirt man that can just sense a tornado because he's got a big dick.
I have to ask you, though, Stuart. You sound angry. Are you angry that it's doing this? Because I'm laughing and enjoying the corniness of it.
It's difficult to say because when I was a child and watching 70s disaster movies, I did take them seriously and love them for their cheesiness and now go back to them with nostalgia. But in the 90s, I expected more. And certainly from this crew, Steven Spielberg, Michael Crichton, you tell me Jurassic Park. This ain't Jurassic Park. This is half-ass Park. And it's bad. It is. I mean, I just want to make clear, I don't know how I feel about it yet, but I know it's very bad.
Here's the thing is, it's a fun ride, even though it's so poorly written. So I wouldn't say it is bad so much as I would say the writing is bad, but the actors are elevating it above the script.
You're having more fun than I am. Again, I'm laughing at them and pitying them. I'm never feeling like, boy, I like being in the truck while they're bickering about who did what. You left the toilet seat up or whatever.
And see, because this is obviously a disaster film, as long as I'm having a good time until I get some good destruction, I'm satisfied. And yeah, like we've said, I'm more or less partway laughing at this film and partway laughing because of it.
Yes, that is the weird thing that I am wrestling with and thinking about if this is recommendable or not. But let's talk about it. 30 minutes in, we get tornado encounter number 1. It's actually twins, twisted sisters. I don't know what you want to call it. 2 tornadoes that they're slinging around cows, and it's going to be our first showdown between Cary Elwes and mystical tornado man, Bill Paxton.
And the CGI in this movie is amazing, especially for 1996, but I think they've done really well. But you bring up the cow, and even in 1996, I thought that cow looked fake as hell.
Yeah, of course it's fake, but that's the fun of it, is that, yeah, we can now have cows flying around, mooing at you. That's just funny because it's a tornado and it's flying and it's a cow.
Yeah, it's very corny. I mean, again, the CGI looks painterly. I mean, it definitely looks like it's not there with the actors. I mean, I think you recognize that, you know, like they'll be in bright sunlight looking over, and then all of a sudden, like black and doom and all of that, just 50 feet away. And part of the funniness is they'll be screaming jargon at each other so much, they're not noticing how close the cyclone is to like ripping them into pieces.
Yeah, there is so much jargon in this film, and the majority of dialogue is jargon shouted at the top of their lungs over a very loud score. I love this score, though, by Mark Mancina again. It's kind of got a march to it that is fun to listen to as they're going into the twister. And yeah, it's not a talky movie. It's an action movie where they're going to pelt the cars with rain and hail and chase after tornadoes. And yeah, this one, it's not twins. Twins are in the trailer for the next movie. This is the sisters.
But Arnie, I'm hearing you, downgrade the script, but I'm not hearing you use the word stupid. This movie is stupid, right?
Oh, absolutely this movie is stupid.
Okay. Because I'm hearing this like great score, so exciting, loving the characters. I just want to understand that you are watching this. When 2 people decide the best thing to do rather than hit the brakes is to drive into a bridge just to stop their vehicle, I don't even know what the hell they're doing.
I guess they're stuck in this trench because they go off-road and then they're always looking for a way to get out of the trench and they can't. So yeah, they got to hit that bridge, I guess.
And I don't think the brakes worked very well in the trench. Like the wheels weren't making great contact.
Again, here's my experience with this entire movie. This movie is about f***ing. They get out, they start grabbing on each other. Sometimes he's reaching for her belt, putting a CB on it and all that, huffing and panting, the wind looking on them. When this new wife, fiance, rolls up, they are always looking like they just got caught doing the nasty. And that is how I'm experiencing this. This is a screwball comedy about a couple that can't stop screwing each other, even though he's engaged to this cold, stiff woman. And that's bad. I mean, again, it's just bad.
It is, but when the twister comes along and brings up that truck and it crashes down on the highway and Jamie Gertz barely misses it, it looks great. It's exciting. It's fun. I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, that's kind of my experience. When the action is going, it feels like not Spielberg's involved, but George Lucas, because it's just faster, more intense. And so I kind of just get caught up in that fury as well. Like, yeah, why are they driving in this trench? Why can't they get out? I don't know, but it's really exciting, like how fast they're going, bouncing all around, and I get caught up in that.
I feel like this is a very similar conversation to Speed, and so I won't belabor the point other than to say I'm never taking any of this seriously, so I don't find it intense, ever. I find it varying degrees of lunacy, which can mean varying degrees of amusement.
The difference between this and Speed for me is that Speed actually had suspense for me, whereas this is like the amusement park ride at Universal Studios. This is just pure fun. I never get adrenalized. I never feel like there's real danger. I never buy into the disaster part of it. but I also never have anything but a mild smirk on my face while I'm watching.
Yeah, speed is very clear cut. Like, the bus can't stop. It's got to stay over 50 miles an hour. Very simple. I know what to get invested in. This, I spend almost the entire film like, what's the point? Like, when's the inciting incident actually going to kick in? Apparently it already has. I missed it because I didn't realize this was just about trying to get 4 Dorothys into the air.
It should be said that that crew of satellite watchers have identified this day as the most tornado-y day of all time, and thus these people are super stoked because it's just tornadoes all day long everywhere. It's like their dream, Christmas. That's the driving force here. We get a lot of tornadoes, and we want to test Dorothy and see if Bill Paxton's cockamamie idea works. And of course, to add a ripple to this, Cary Elwes has taken it, has copied the mechanics of it, made it, I don't know, is it sleeker? Is it sexier? He's certainly the one bragging to the press that it's his idea. And so we're supposed to see this as a war between people that tread on other people's cred and people that instinctively, authentically are weather people.
I think that Jonas's Cary Elwes character is supposed to be less good, first of all, because it doesn't have the name like Dorothy. His is .3. And then where Dorothy has round sensors, his has square sensors. And I just think that's supposed to be, like he's square.
I totally agree that is Jan de Bont's visualization.
There's the Freudian symbols I get.
Yes. This is Jan de Bont thinking about how to visualize Michael Crichton's jargon.
But Cary Elwes has his own crew here. We don't get to know any of them either, but there's one familiar face I need to call out. Abraham Ben Ruby is part of his team. He gets like 2 shots, and he was a staple on ER, the Michael Crichton show that started before this, and also he was Kubiak in Parker Lewis Can't Lose for many years.
Okay, now I know who you're talking about. Yes.
There's also a character named Kubrick, I noticed, but again, that's just Jan de Bont wishing. Yeah, I don't care about his crew.
But yes, you know that they beat Jonas to the tornado because Bill just knew which way it was going to go, and Jonas tried following him because Jonas doesn't have any ideas of his own. We're supposed to totally hate this guy. In a disaster movie, I know you often have despicable characters, but this one is the most silly of conceits. You could have really removed him from this movie and lost nothing.
I hear what you're saying. No, you could have removed him from this movie and tried to make a real movie, or you could have kept him in this movie and have people laugh at the trope of it all. And that's definitely what he's playing. It is so ridiculous that they have this sniveling villain who, again, bad performance. Every time he shows up, he's always taking credit for, following the satellite, following the machines, rather than following his instincts, because that's the better way to be. And that's why Joe loves Bill, too. And we find out more about that when they decide to stop at Aunt Meg's house. Lois Smith, are we doing a retrospective here? She was the lovable old lady in New Guys as well, we covered recently.
Oh, that was her. Yeah, okay.
I don't know. This scene just made me hungry, though. Like, I wanted steak and eggs after this scene.
That was a huge part of the Q&A with Helen Hunt, was talking about how steak and eggs was like a thing after this movie, and it does look good. Now, I remembered Meg wrong. I thought she was the dead meat. I thought, coming back to this movie, they killed Meg.
And they almost do, but then decide nobody can die except Cary Elwes.
Yeah, 3 people die in this movie. Cary Elwes, the guy driving Cary Elwes' car, and Joe's dad. And that is it.
Not much of a body count. But Aunt Meg is supposed to be there we see, as soon as she sees Bill, she's hugging him. And, he is starting to remember all the things that he loved about this woman that he claims he wants to sign divorce papers. And meanwhile, we're all hating Jamie Gertz. In 1996, it's kind of funny now, you wouldn't pick up on it, but in 1996, if you wanted to make us hate a character, you have them pull out a cell phone in the middle of a scene and have them talk to somebody, because that shows that they're really not paying attention to you and they're just horrible people.
I still stand by that.
Welcome to 2024, Arnie.
But here is another interesting scene, because while at Meg's is where everything gets explained to Melissa. Melissa's really our point of view character, because everybody in this movie knows what they're talking about, but we, the audience, don't. And so Melissa is there so everything can be explained to us. And one of the questions Melissa has is, why do they keep calling Bill the Extreme? And they tell some story about, I think, how he met Joe. Is he was drunk, butt naked, and walked up to a tornado. Joe was with the storm chasers at the time. They were all chasing this tornado. Bill just shows up naked, tosses his bottle into the tornado. Is he even an educated meteorologist? Is he a scientist, or is he a drunk?
No, he has got a big dick. He is the thing that she has been chasing since she was 6 years old and her daddy was taken from her. I'm telling you, this is like Freud 101 shit. The reading, it's barely masked.
And the other thing they have to explain to Melissa, and admittedly, they had to explain this to me when I was seeing this for the first time, the Fujita scale for tornadoes. I'm now too familiar with the Fujita scale, but back then, who knew what the Fujita scale was? That it can go from F1 to F5, and again, this is just comedic gold to me when they're like, oh, at F4, it'll relocate your house, and then Melissa says, is there an F5? And everybody just gets real quiet and looks at each other. It's just hysterical.
Well, how do you do it, though? Again, in disaster movies, usually how they do it, my experience is, there's some putz who wanted to make money and did something that caused a lot of people to be in harm's way of a natural disaster. And so there's usually a boo-hiss villain that is the reason for why there's so much misery and death. Here, there is no death, so we need to create a villain out of literally, smoke and wind. So, yes, the mythical F5 that, of course, is going to be the climactic twister. You got to build up to something. And so, yeah, we just saw an F2, maybe an F3, and now we're going to be, I think, running off to an F4. It allows us to have escalation as we get more and more intense tornadoes.
Yeah, the second tornado they say is an F3. I think they actually go up one each time that they see the tornado. The fourth tornado will finally be the F5. But yeah, they don't have dinner at Meg's too long. We get one painful scene of Meg and Joe talking about how Joe and Bill need to get back together, and then they're off racing for another tornado, and here we get our hit single for the movie. It's being played by Dusty as they're traveling to the tornado. Van Hagar, Humans Being.
Is it Hagar? I thought it was Sharon.
No, this is Hagar. I actually just coincidentally read a Van Halen article about this was when things were starting to get tense between Van Halen and Sammy Hagar. But this was Hagar on vocals.
Okay, all right. Well, again, I thought this was, I think most people were done with Van Halen by 1996. I don't think they had any other hits. And I don't remember anything from the soundtrack charting. But you had to. In the 90s, you had to have a soundtrack of pop hits. And they really do work them in. Again, I think it's Philip Seymour Hoffman's job to try and cram them into any scene that needs a little oomph. And in this scene, this is where Joe loses it. They have Dorothy number 2, and they're trying to chase this twister that they have it reading on the computer, but they can't see it on the horizon. And then when she sees it and the Dorothy falls over, she's going to risk her life to try and put the silver balls back in the cookie jar.
I mean, I'm thinking if the tornado comes, whether they're in the canister or not, they're going to get sucked up. So I'm not understanding why she's scooping them up.
I agree. I have no idea why they need Dorothy to launch a certain way. I just don't understand that science of it.
Because it has Judy Garland on the side of it in the famous blue outfit, and you want to reference Wizard of Oz.
No, I get it.
I guess the one thing they say is because this does fail, they think the balls are too light to get lifted. They're just going to get shuffled around by the wind. They're not going to get sucked up into the tornado.
Meanwhile, boats are flying by, oil tankers, sure, yeah. The balls are too light to be lifted.
Yeah, they get pushed instead of lifted. They just get shuffled around.
You know what? I will fully admit that you have an understanding of this that I do not, because this is where the jargon just becomes, it's over. No, it's back building. We got a jumper here. There's a cone of silence. I'm like, I don't even know. It's just hilarious to me. It's like a foreign film watching these two actors scream this stuff to each other while a goddamn giant tornado is coming at them, ripping up power lines, and things are exploding and sparking all around them.
Yeah, your problem is you're trying to understand this jargon, and I gave up. I'm like, I'll let the other guys explain it to me if it even makes sense, and I don't think it does. I mean, maybe it makes sense technically, but it's not going to help or hurt your understanding of this film. But yeah, show me that oil tanker blow up. That is the stuff I'm in a disaster movie for.
Yeah, it's macho nerd Michael Crichton insisting that it's really important that we know he did his homework, that this isn't just some dumb Hollywood movie. He spent a lot of time studying tornadoes, and this stuff has some, God, am I using the word credibility? I think he wants us to think that this movie has credibility.
But it loses its credibility right after the scene when we get the quote-unquote dramatic scene that is really the worst scene of the movie, is when Joe is screaming that tornadoes are coming for her, and Bill is like, you know, killing yourself won't bring your dad back. Stop living in the past and look what you've got right in front of you. Me, Joe. And then you cut to Melissa crying in the rain, hearing this conversation on the CB.
So has he decided that he's going back to Joe at that point? Because again, that's a typical thing in a rom-com is you overhear something, it's out of context, you take it the wrong way. But I don't know how else you take that statement from Bill. Like, it sounds like he's like, yeah, I want you back.
He definitely wants Joe to move beyond her trauma. And I don't know if he identifies the fact that he is replacing her father or not. But he recognizes in the scene she's got a daddy complex. And yes, you have a trained, licensed therapist that should be able to process this. And Jamie Gertz, yeah, she's hysterical.
Reproductive therapist. Only if they're going to have sex can she get involved, I guess.
I guess so. And they are. Again, I'm going to insist that's all that this is. Let's get to Tornado 3.
Is that why we go to the drive-in so they could make out in the back of the car?
Yes. All the couples making out. Yeah. They decide the novelty would be what happens. Tornadoes can come at night. You know, we never see that footage, but what would it look like to be attacked by a tornado at night? That's when Joe as a little child saw it. So this is going to be a recreation of that trauma.
Yeah, I've never, again, very little experience with tornadoes, and I never thought about, oh yeah, they could come at night, and I guess they would be invisible. You couldn't see them in the far distance, so I thought this was, again, kind of a cool scene, like when it comes out of the dark and hits that drive-in.
It's the only scene other than the opening that seems to take tornadoes seriously. For most of the movie, our characters are racing towards the tornadoes. This is the only time where they're like, shit, we need to get under cover. And I don't even know why they are, because if I were them, I'd be like, shit, we need to get the Dorothy machine ready, because it's coming to us. It's going to save us the legwork. But they don't have time to get Dorothy powered up. I don't even know, again, why they need to power her up. There's lights on her, like the Ghostbusters ambulance.
I think they're just like hazard lights to warn people if they're driving down the road and that's sitting there waiting to get picked up. I think that is the only purpose of those lights.
But this is the one where they're screaming for everyone to get into cover, and they go into like this mechanic shop and get into one of the wells underneath where they work on the cars.
Yeah, it's called a Quonset hut. Yeah, that kind of style of aluminum dome and all of that. We have a few of them here in Springfield. They're kind of a fun throwback here. It's, again, whatever you can do to be novel. That it's a repair shop, and one of the cars that's being serviced is hit by another car and almost falls on someone. The bearded guy, there's so many guys here I don't even know, but the bearded guy gets hurt. It's where it feels like the most like an action movie. And of course, outside, people are still watching The Shining. As Jack Nicholson is coming up to put the axe in the door and get windy, we have the screen itself being torn away by the tornado.
That looks great. I actually think that shot of the movie being torn apart looks really cool. I have no problems with the special effects. I think most of them hold up really well.
I have no idea what they built at Universal, but my feeling is if I wanted to ride this movie, I would want it to be this scene. This is the scene I would want, like the earthquake, if you've ever ridden that ride. I would want to be there when things are falling and ripping away. And
yeah, I want a hubcap zooming past my head and almost hitting me.
How did they do it? Is it a 3D movie or was it actual like set pieces falling and moving around?
I actually went to the ride in the early aughts, and it was set pieces moving around. It was the drive-in scene.
Oh, good. A+ for the ride then.
And I don't really remember it very well because it's been over 20 years. What my main memory is I got soaked, and I was worried about my camera because there was a lot of rain coming down on us in this Twister ride, and there was a lot of wind, but I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember a lot of details. It was called Twister Ride It Out.
Sounds fun. But you know who is not riding it out? Melissa. This is where she gives up the ghost. She's had enough. She's tried doing work while they're chasing these things, and then she's been freaked out by these things, tried to hide in a hotel room, and she is just done. She can't compete with Joe and tornadoes. And she's not even that upset about it because, yes, this wasn't really a relationship that made any sense, and I never even understood why Joe and Bill broke up.
And she even says to Bill, we knew sooner or later this was going to end. Then why were you getting married? I don't understand the relationships in this movie.
I think that's just something you say to make yourself feel better that it's ending this way. Like, she doesn't really mean that, but, you know, it's like telling your boss, I quit before he could fire you.
Yes. And Melissa, again, she had a function, and that was so that these smart people could tell her all the science about tornadoes. And now that we've had all of that, yes, please exit this film. There is no purpose for you whatsoever. Or except you could kill her. Just going to throw it out there. Would have loved to have seen the drive-in sign smash her head.
Except that would be too depressing. You know, then you'd feel bad if Bill immediately jumped in the arms of another woman.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see Bill hooking up with someone else right after that. That's weird.
The other thing that to me is super cheesy, there's the Jonas stuff, but then, you know, they're explaining early on why they need Dorothy, and it's to give us a warning system, because you can't stop a tornado, but what they say is you only have a 3-minute warning system for a tornado, and with Dorothy, they could use that data and maybe give a 15-minute warning. Well, those are words that are said, but they're going to try to drive it home, because after hitting the drive-in, that tornado went straight over to Aunt Meg's. And as they're driving back into Wakita, Joe's just going to look outside and say, they had no warning.
And see her family from childhood. She's going to see herself standing on the side of the road in the rubble.
These are like scientists with CBs and stuff. They couldn't phone ahead. Hey, like there's something coming.
The phone lines fell down, Jacob, because in 1996... landlines are the only way to get to Aunt May.
No, a CB. You find a trucker that's in that town and just radio to them.
Meanwhile, I mean, the woman does have giant ornate weather vanes and stuff in her yard. She just had lunch with a bunch of people that told her there are F4s and F5s all day long. Why she's sitting up in bed watching Judy Garland's A Star is Born, I'll never know.
Because she had no warning.
No, she deserves to go and she should have been killed. And this is a cheat that we don't find her dead in there.
My memory was we found her dead. So when I'm watching this in the theater and they find her alive, I'm blown away. I'm like, a tornado hit me. I'm like, wow, Aunt Meg lived? I really thought she was just the dead meat character of this whole movie.
No, the way to take her, and they almost do it, is like, we find her alive under shelving, we climb into the collapsing house, and then she's almost killed by falling TV set.
Yes. And again, I like this that we're climbing through this house that's falling down. That's fun stuff to watch. Except everyone just kind of gets out too easy. I get what you're saying. So you want everyone to die?
No.
Give me one or two. I want more danger in this.
If you understand the formula of a disaster movie, you know that you create melodrama. You know you create ridiculous characters who have storylines, and sometimes the disaster gives you happy or sad endings for them. And both can be campy fun. These characters, by this point, do you really like any of the crew? Are they really that helpful?
I mean, there's no individual I like, but I still like the vibe. I mean, I'm not tired of them. I'm still having fun with them. I like to see them pull together as a team to get Meg out of the house, you know, kind of paying her back for feeding them all as they save her life.
Yeah, I feel like this movie rarely slows down, so you don't have time to really question or gather your thoughts about anything. It's like on to the next tornado chase.
Yeah, the climactic one. That we found an F5, damn it. And because they've suddenly together, Bill and Joe have looked at the leaning weather vane that is in Aunt Meg's yard, they now know that we should have built it with aluminum. I mean, I know why you do this. This, movie is following structure so closely. Yes, it's time for them to have this solve the problem that was holding them back. But these are just perfunctory, stupid ways of doing it with characters that don't even feel like characters.
No, and the product placement is hysterical that it's all Pepsi cans.
There's some Mountain Dew.
Yeah, all PepsiCo cans.
I mean, this is before they saved the day in Madam Web. They're saving the day in Oklahoma and Twister.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't have to do CPR on Meg. But I do like the detail that they do show everybody's hands all cut up. I mean, that is what would happen if you're cutting up these aluminum cans, is you're going to bleed. You're going to bleed a lot. And it's just a small little thing that I love about this movie is they make everybody's hands bloody as they're adding little propellers to these sensors.
And they got 2 Dorothys left. So that means one of them can't work, right? The first attempt is we're going to put it out on the road and debris. A tree comes flying, knocks it over, and lodges under the truck. It looks like Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt are not going to be able to drive away from the cyclone.
Yeah, it's just another momentary thing of action. I mean, there's a nice moment here with the truck where they have a tanker land in front of them that was actually done practically. I think it looks really good with everything going on. I mean, in the end, it's a lot of vehicular carnage. They drive through a house. There's a lot of shouting.
Yes, that was my favorite moment. I will just say one of the reasons why I gave Speed 2 a recommend and why I'm considering it for this is just give me big scenes. The idea that a house could roll into the road and they're going to drive through the stairway up through the upper bedroom is just a fun, goofy visual. That's all this movie has to be.
Yeah, you say drive through the house like that's an everyday thing. I feel like that is one of the big scenes in this. Like, again, that cow flying around. This is the kind of stuff I want in a tornado film. Houses blowing, you got to drive through them, like, fun stuff.
And you have to kill your mustache-twirling villain as well. He won't listen. They're trying to tell him because they know about vectors and trajectories and all of the...
And Bill has read the dirt.
Yeah, right, exactly. He picked up the fucking soil and now is saying, don't do it. And I can understand why Cary Elwes wouldn't listen. So that means, again, it's not enough just for him to disappear into the cyclone. They have to lift the vehicle up. They have to impale the driver, lift the vehicle up, and then smash it on the ground so that it explodes in flames so that everybody knows bad guy dead.
And the oil tanker that blew up earlier was very cool looking. This explosion looks bad. This is like TIE Fighter crashing on the Death Star in 1983 bad. This is just a really piss poor effect. Again, most of this film looks so good that when it looks bad, it really stands out.
Again, I don't think that this is a photorealistic movie. I think that you can appreciate effects for looking like effects sometimes if it's not something you've seen before. In 1996, the only cyclone that people could talk about was from 1939. So this is a new reference point. Whether it looks real or not, I think it was acceptable. And by disaster movie standards, it's way more than acceptable.
It looks real to me even now.
I mean, if this came out now, I would have criticism, but for 1996, I'm giving this movie a pass. My biggest gripe is when we get some of those tornado shots, all the debris at the bottom of the funnel looks real CGI-y, but like most of the time, that's not what I'm thinking about.
But having just seen this on the big screen in a theater, it didn't look bad. At no point was I feeling like I was making allowances for the time for the effects.
I never laughed at the CGI like I have done in the past.
I may not laugh at the CGI, but I'm definitely laughing at these circumstances. Again, Jan de Bont, like, I'm going to make a haunted house movie where the bed tries to eat the woman. Here, they're going to drive by a farm supply store and suddenly, like, tractors are being hurled at them and they have to go right, left, all of, like, this is just, I mean, you are heckling this movie, I do hope.
I don't understand what your problem is with stuff being thrown at them. That's what I want in a tornado film.
But it's so stupid, right? I mean, we're all agreeing the vibe is, God, this is so dumb.
I mean, it's a silly movie, yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem with them dodging tractors. It's not nearly as dumb as the interpersonal stories. Anything with the tornado, it's getting a thumbs up from me in this movie. nothing with the tornadoes is dumb. Only the people in the movie are dumb.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm definitely not having that experience. And I'd also say one is the other. They're having those scenes at the same time because they don't want to have too many talking scenes. They're having them work out their relationship while plows are flying at them.
Yeah, the fact that they started so early in with the cow flying, I feel like you get a lot of leeway. You gave me a nod that, we're going to see some silly stuff in this tornado film. So at the end here, I'm going with it.
Going with it. God, that's not my experience. No, I'm laughing at this movie. It's so bad that it's kind of fun. And is it a Speed 2 reference that, Bill puts his truck in cruise control and sends it straight into the tornado? Obviously, Jan de Bont knew that was going to happen for him. He was contractually required to make the sequel next. So maybe he was thinking about ideas for what they could do. Cruise control it is.
I think it would be really hard to get out of a moving vehicle driving through a cornfield with all those stalks hitting the door. That seems like the most implausible thing in this entire movie, is that they can push the doors open against the stalks of corn and jump out of the moving vehicle okay.
I mean, I haven't cared about the twister science. I'm not caring about real life physics at this point.
I mean, no, it's bad. Again, this is what Arnie's pointing out are the kinds of things that are making me heckle. And that's the verb I would use. I'm heckling this movie because of the way that it's staging the action. How stupid is that?
But Dorothy flies. They have to sacrifice Bill's new life to do it. There's a metaphor I did catch. At the beginning of the film, Joe says to Bill, you got a new car, a new job, a new wife, a new you. Well, he's lost the new wife. I'm presuming he's going to lose the new job because they're going to talk about him staying with Joe and working. And he has to lose that new truck as it drives off into the tornado with Dorothy in back. And that weights Dorothy down enough. It's finally got enough weight that it won't spill and all those sensors can go up and give numbers to a computer back with the team of people we don't really know. Okay, I'll just take this movie's technobabble that this means something.
Here's my big problem with the movie is, at the climax, they're like, we got to start analyzing this data, guys. We got so much data. This is not exciting, guys, to see your little dots on a screen and freaking out about data. Like, those are not the stakes I want.
But that's Michael Crichton. I mean, I understand that. Again, if you read that Jurassic Park book, you'll know what he really cared about. And it ain't dinosaurs.
But someone in Hollywood, Spielberg, he knows a thing or two about storytelling. Give this movie real stakes.
Well, there's no real stakes to give this movie. If you wanted to give it real stakes, you would take it out of the hands of Michael Crichton and Jan de Bont. They clearly have shown they're not capable of it. But we got to have an ending that's a big climax. Wink, wink, innuendo intended. They're going to tie each other at the pelvis and grab onto each other and then fly into the eye. You always want to go into whether it's the black hole, whatever the phenomenon is, you want to go into the middle of it. And here, I guess we're finding out that there's tornadoes inside of tornadoes. I thought there might be aliens too, right? It's like a whole magical thing.
I do like before they're going to get taken up in this tornado, like they go to run into a barn to hide and it's full of like sickles and sharp objects. That was a pretty solid joke.
Yeah, I liked the response. Who are these people? Like they just stumbled into the Texas Chainsaw House.
But again, this is about healing childhood trauma. So when it's all over, we see a family just like hers from 1969 emerge from the storm doors. She has saved her family. She has repaired the past. She can now be happy with... I get the sense that it was her fault that they couldn't be together and that he had to go be neutered by this woman that wanted to make him a corny TV weatherman. And now she's going to let him, crunch numbers, build a lab. I don't even know what, but they're kissing by the end of this.
Obligatory romance that is not any better than what's developed between Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock in Speed.
It's much worse.
So Jakob, Stuart, do you recommend Twister? Jakob.
I think I experienced Twister the way it sounded like Stuart experienced Speed. This one, it's lesser than Speed. I'm just going to put it that way. Like, here you can see those flaws of having thin characters and maybe not the most tense stakes to carry you through and get you invested in that drama. Like, I thought Speed, very clever, put a pretty girl in danger, Sandra Bullock, and she's kind of proxy for the rest of that bus. You don't care about the rest of the bus, but you care about her, so it kind of works for you. Here, I enjoy the vibe of this group, but yeah, I don't ever care for them, even like the way I cared about just Keanu and Sandra Bullock in that film. Like, that was the biggest surprise, that this is just about 4 test runs to get some balls into a tornado. Like, that was the big shock to me. That said, I laughed a lot, sometimes at the film, sometimes with the film, but most of the time at the film, because yeah, it's a very old-fashioned, kind of outdated form of storytelling that we don't see a whole lot, with just, yes, this love triangle and the therapist, like that's a joke. So that was a lot of fun, just that corny campiness there. But when we got the action stuff, I did get caught up in that. And we talked about Speed being a ride. That one, I was a little bit more invested than just a ride. But this, yeah, it's a roller coaster. I don't ride a roller coaster for the plot, because there's no plot for a roller coaster usually. I don't know, I guess Disney tries to tell some story while you're standing in line to give you reason to be on that ride. But no, like this, it's fun to get pulled through, to see these tornadoes, to see cows and tankers and driving through houses, like just things thrown in the air. That's why I'm watching a disaster film usually, is like, how good can the destruction be? It's pretty good here. I think it's better than average. So yeah, I'm going to give this a recommend. Do not watch this because it's a gripping drama or you're going to love these characters, but it is a fun roller coaster of a film. So yeah, a real mild recommend.
Stuart.
All right, so the only debate I'm having is, so bad it's Brown Arrow fun like Speed 2, or so bad it's bad like The Haunting. And I don't know.
It's not on the level of The Haunting. I'll say that.
Are you sure? When the tornado's growling and she's like, it's chasing me and it's got this vendetta against me and it took my daddy and all of this, like whipping people around into like a sexual frenzy. Oh boy, it's bad.
I'm going to say give it a Brown Arrow then, because I love that description you just gave.
But yeah, at the same time, what did I applaud Speed 2 for? But yeah, driving through a dock, when they drive through the house, when we have some of the moments of destruction, I don't feel like there is enough of them. I think the reason why I'm going to end up saying not recommend instead of Brown Arrow recommend is there isn't a whole lot of fun for me. There are huge lulls with a whole bunch of characters sitting around eating steak and talking about Bill Paxton's magic tornado sense without actually showing us that much. And I just don't feel like they understand that these characters need to die, that fun is upping the melodrama. And so often, the only thing we're fixated on is the bad romance, which, again, should be an element of a disaster movie, but it shouldn't be the primary focus. And I guess they just couldn't afford to make a movie where the tornado was constantly on screen, where we would have the kind of destruction that would be so fun. I don't know. It wasn't that fun to me. You guys sound like you had a really good time, and I think it's hysterical, quite literally, in the most literal sense of that word. This movie is hysteria, but I'm going to say skip it.
And I saw the exact same movie Jakob did. I think anytime there's dialogue going on in this movie, it's pretty nonsensical. It's either techno jargon I don't follow, or it's real bad melodrama. And I honestly don't know which is worse, the technobabble or the melodrama.
I never laugh at the technobabble. I laugh at the melodrama.
Yeah, again, I just go back to that line that Cary Elwes, he's in it for the money. It's just, that is a Brown Arrow line right there. It is great. And Cary Elwes' bad accent is also Brown Arrow level. And so that's the thing is, whether I'm laughing at the movie during the scenes where it's really so bad that I'm laughing at it, or whether I'm enjoying the movie during its action moments, and I don't care what they're yelling at each other when they're driving into the tornado, be it melodrama or be it technobabble, I'm having fun with the tornado. I'm not as invested in this film's characters as I even am for Speed. I think this is a lesser movie than Speed, but I still think it's a fun movie. And I give it, a middle-of-the-road recommend.
And so just to help me understand, because I don't think either of you guys liked Speed 2 or The Haunting that much, this movie's saving grace from not turning into that is...
good action.
I didn't have to wait 2 hours to hit that dock.
Okay. To me, just to be clear, it's like, if we're rating it, it's an F2. Like, it's a failure, but it's not like, oh, this is so bad, it's hysterical. I think if it were, I'd really be able to get behind Brown Arrow, but it's just this kind of dumb, annoying movie with this bad romance.
It's an F3 to me, and that's enough to get it past the recommend point. It's sure not an F5, but can Twisters possibly be good? A legacy sequel 28 years later?
I do remember Bill Paxton joking at the end of summer 1996. Again, it had been the surprise hit that had made so much money. Nobody was thinking it was going to make that much money. And he joked, we're going to have the sequel out next year, 1997, and we're going to call it Let's Twist Again like we did last summer. Well, Bill, nope. 28 years, and you won't even live to see it. What will it mean that we don't have a legacy stars in it? As far as I know, Helen Hunt didn't come back either. So I'm not sure that this will even feel tied to what we just watched.
And I thought the big deal, it's Twisters. I'm like, oh, there's going to be 2 Twisters in this one? But this one had 2 Twisters, so I don't know why it's plural now.
It had 4. Yeah, I agree. There's had lots of Twisters.
It even had the sisters, not the twins, but the sisters, like 2 at the same time.
Yeah, this could have been called Twisters as easily as Twister.
I don't know, but I'm kind of looking forward to it. I enjoyed this one enough, but there's nobody the same behind the camera, nobody the same in front of the camera.
This is why I'm hopeful, is because you get rid of that director and you get rid of that writer and you got a chance, because I do like disaster movies and I do like the Greg Powell or whatever. He was pretty good in Maverick, and I think that he could lead the movie in the direction that it's going to go. I'm not sure who else is in this cast. Haven't really paid attention to this movie. It'll be about tornadoes, right? I imagine that they will find ways that are more dramatically satisfying to put the characters in danger and dramatize what's going on without it being so hokey and hoary.
Or it could be Twister 2 Speed Control.
Well, we will find out next week. Meanwhile, for donors this Friday, if you were a donor in our fall-winter donation drive, we are finally concluding our Beverly Hills Cop retrospective series with the new Netflix film, Axel Foley.
Yeah, it took Twisters 28 years to come back. It took Eddie Murphy 30 years to come back to his most famous role. But we finally have a sequel to Beverly Hills Cop 3, and I know it's better than that. I haven't watched it yet, but I know that it's better than that movie.
So that review will be available for those who donated in the fall-winter donation drive, or you can head to our Patreon store where you can get our donation podcasts a la carte, one by one, for a small one-time donation. You can find a link to our Patreon store at nowplayingpodcast.com/donate, or on the detail page of any of our donation podcasts. We have a button that'll take you right to that show on Patreon, where, they have a store there where you can get shows one by one. So hopefully you join us this Friday for Axel Foley, and until then, I've got to go. We've got cows.
Sorry to eat and run.
It's what you live for.
Thank you for listening to this Now Playing Podcast movie review.
Please tell me you guys are seeing this right now.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
Oh, she's perfect!
She's gorgeous.
Help us spread the word about this show by leaving a 5-star review on Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, or your podcast store of choice.
If you feel it, chase it!
Want more reviews like this one? In the archives section of NowPlayingPodcast.com, you'll find more than 1,000 in-depth movie reviews from our panel of hosts.
Guys, whatever's in there, it's big and it's moving fast. Drive!
On our site, you can hear reviews for every installment in the world's biggest film franchises, including the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Wars, Spider-Man, Batman, X-Men, James Bond, Middle-earth, Jurassic Park, Fast and Furious, and Transformers.
That's no moon! It's a space station! Ah!
Plus, we have individual movie reviews, such as Titanic, E.T., Inception, Big Hero 6, Ready Player One, Pulp Fiction, Apocalypse Now, Dr. Strangelove, and hundreds more.
You ever see anything like this?
Not like this.
And come back to NowPlayingPodcast.com next Tuesday for another all-new movie review podcast.
This thing's not over. We've only seen the start of it.
Support from listeners like you keeps Now Playing Podcast on the air.
He's in it for the money, not the science.
You can donate directly by tapping the support button at nowplayingpodcast.com.
Maybe we should stop, see if they need some help.
And you can join our crowdfunding campaign for early access to new episodes, exclusive reviews, and bonus reviews available for a one-time contribution.
We never had a chance.
You want one?
Need more Now Playing? Subscribe to our In Focus weekly newsletter for exclusive digital download giveaways, behind-the-scenes insights, and more. Sign up through the subscribe page on our website and get it delivered to your inbox every Friday.
We got what, about 1 million subscribers now, huh?
You can also compare notes with us on Letterboxd. Go to letterboxd.com/nowplaying to see what our hosts are watching when we're not recording podcasts. And follow Now Playing on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel.
Gotta get everyone to the movie theater!
Now Playing Podcast is produced by Arnie Carvalho.
Well, you can always trust a guy who puts his face on a t-shirt.
Associate produced by Jason Latham.
I am happy. I'm a happy person.
Now Playing is edited by Santiago and Arnie.
I just want to get it over with.
Now Playing credits read by Brock.
Sounds like old times down there.
The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the views of Venganza Media Incorporated.
When I want your opinion, I'll give it to you.
Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with, and this podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by any entity that created the film analyzed herein. All movie clips and music included in this podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. They are included here for the purpose of review, and no infringement is intended.
Hey, are you guys gonna wrap this up pretty soon?
Now Playing Podcast is an exclusive trademark of and may not be used without the express written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated.
Liability only.
Liability only.
Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2024, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved.
What was it like?
It was windy.
Well, Arnie, get it out now. Tell us what happens in Twister.
Bill Paxton. Can you tell I have a dentist appointment next week? Bill Paxton plays